Back on SportsLine, and as promised, Predators general manager David Boyle, head coach Peter Laviolette talked about this amazing run and where they go from here earlier today. Here it is.
David, I wonder both in terms of sort of the notoriety that Nashville got here in the hockey world, and also, you know, maybe possibly in terms of the revenue gained in this playoff run too. I wonder if this could potentially help you down the road in terms of free agents that want to come here or re-signing players, etc. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
I would absolutely think it does. I mean, to me, the last 2 or 3 years have been the best in our franchise. And again, I referred to the 16 All-Star game. I think that in a lot of ways put us on the map more internationally with a lot of folks that got to watch the game and see all the festivities, all the media that came to town for the great time that they had. All that really helps, and they all report on that. They all say how great Nashville is, again, on and off the ice. The more you win, I think the more attractive your team is to players, either to stay here or for free agents. The fact that our building is now full on a nightly basis, there's not a player that doesn't think this is as good a place, if not the best place, to play in the National Hockey League right now. As far as resources, with the new ownership that came in now 7 years ago, they have given me everything I need to put a competitive team on the ice. I don't think we have any of those, what I'll refer to as old issues about our franchise, in terms of from the extreme of losing a player to moving, all those things. I think that is way in the past tense, and I feel I've never felt better about our franchise than I do today.
Adam?
David, you mentioned with the short postseason, you already have to start planning for the expansion draft. I was wondering if you can go into some more detail about that, specifically the way the roster is constructed. Do you plan on using the 8 skater protection method, and what specific decisions do you have left to make as a group before you have to turn that list in?
Well, I'd like to actually, and you talk about the short period of time, I want to sit down with the coaching staff probably as soon as this afternoon to go over what we're thinking, because I mean we've talked about it but haven't shared too much of the philosophy, you know, going forward. So we need a little bit of internal time before we make our final decisions. It's going to be tough, I think, whatever we do. I think we're one of the teams that is going to give up one of the better players in expansion. I've also made a call. I've talked to George McPhee the day before yesterday, and I'm going to talk to him again tomorrow just to see if I can see what he might be looking for, and to see whether there might be a deal that we could make to satisfy both of us. So, you know, it's the cost of doing business. We've been on the other end of getting an expansion team. I'm happy for Vegas to some extent that they're, all due respect, probably getting better players than we did to start with, and we will do the best we can to protect as many assets as we can.
Sure.
There's a lot of talk about Mike Fisher not coming back and retiring, and if that's the case, the younger guys, the Yossi's, the Ellises, who have now been through this for a couple of years, what kind of leaders have they developed into if you do have to make another change with another captain going forward?
Let me go first. First of all, we haven't, just for the record, we haven't talked to Mike Fisher yet, and obviously I'd like to give him as much time as he needs to make a decision. So that's A, and then let Lavi talk about the leadership on our team.
I think the leadership was excellent this year. David had mentioned in his opening remarks how fortunate we are to have great leaders in the room. It was certainly led by Mike Fisher. I think when we were early in the season, we were trying to figure out how we were going to be built as a team. Never once was it about Mike and his leadership. That was an easy fit, and it was such a big part of him becoming the captain this year, because he's the guy that could step into shoes and be the leader that we needed inside the locker room. I think it was the younger players now in those leadership roles. We added Ryan Ellis. We thought the way he came into the season and what he was contributing inside the locker room and on the ice, we thought it was important to bring him into the leadership group as an assistant captain. Roman Yossi now has been an assistant captain for a couple years here. James Neal's an excellent leader. He's been a guy that we've counted on because he's got a little bit more experience. So the leadership group was very good. Even players that not necessarily are in the names that we've just talked about, but watching the maturity and the growth of a guy like Ryan Johansson, Philip Forsberg, Matthias Ekholm, and there's more. But there was growth, I think, from a leadership point of view inside of our room, outside of the name of Mike Fisher, who did an outstanding job.
Justin in the back.
This is for David. David, so many of the players that have made such a significant impact on the team this season were skipped over in drafts or drafted in the mid-late rounds, like Victor Arvidsson, Pekka Rinne, things like that. What does it say just about your staff, your scouting staff and staff throughout the entire organization to find these diamonds in the rough to be able to develop these guys as well and find them to make an impact on the team?
Well, our scouting staff has done a fantastic job right from day one. I mean, our lifeblood of our team has always been through our scouting, and specifically, and I'd say mostly, our amateur scouting, led by Paul Fenton, our assistant GM, and Jeff Kelty, who's been the head amateur scout for many, many years now. And it's, to have any success, you have to have that. And these guys have found players, I don't want to say it's easy in the first round, but when you find players in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, Pekka Rinne in the 8th round, which we don't even have anymore, I mean, these are great stories, and they keep coming. Freddie Gaudreau wasn't even drafted, so he was a free agent. So this is Paul, this is Jeff, this is Tommy Nolan, and JP Glode, who's our regional scout that we have in Quebec. And these guys know players, and they know what we need. And I can't tell you how good of a job they've done, and I can't tell you how important it is to be able to have these depth type of players to be able to come in, because in a salary cap age, you sort of get a formula and you pay your top players so much money, and you got to have these entry-level guys or lower-end guys coming into fresh blood, if you will, into your lineup all the time. So, we see Kevin Fiala making it, looks like on a regular basis, hopefully next year. Pontus Åberg is a guy that's got a chance to make it on a regular basis. These are draft picks. Freddie Gaudreau is a free agent. Paul really has liked Matt Irwin for years. Matt Irwin, a year ago, played the whole year in the minors. And this year, all but one game, he plays the whole year in the National Hockey League. That's great player evaluation, and Paul and his staff have done a fantastic job for us. And another reason why we're here today, I referred earlier to Milwaukee. We have this saying within the organization, the road to Nashville is through Milwaukee, and it couldn't be any more truer than what happened this year.
Peter, you've been through this before. What have you told the players in terms of how you want them to handle the short off season now, in terms of balancing rest versus training on their own, and then does it affect what you do at the start of training camp too?
Yeah. We're wrapping things up as a team and in individual meetings right now. The message is never easy when you don't complete what you started, and we fell short, so there's always going to be a disappointment and a hole. The one thing we always said is that we didn't want to look back with any regret. We have none for the way that we played. Our guys played their hearts out, and we fell short at the end. So I think that more than anything, there's a pit there. There's an emptiness of not getting all the way. With regard to the summer, it is short. There's no question about that. We're still dealing with guys that are banged up and unable to train at full right now. Not that they would. They need a little bit of time off, but that time maybe in some years is a month. Now it's much shorter than that. It might be 2 weeks. It might be 10 days, 14 days, 21 days, and they've got to get back at it because it is quick. Their bodies are their engines, and they have to pay attention to the detail of what they do in the summer in order to be ready to play at a high pace and be physically ready for the demands of the season, which will come quickly next year. So we've had some talks about that. We've got excellent people in place with regard to looking after that. Andy Hostler and his staff, the medical staff. David Good does an unbelievable job training our players, and we've got Marietta does